Hello, my name is Maite. I am a student at the Soils for Life course. I am very excited to present this project, which is about soil contamination, a topic that has become increasingly relevant in our society in the Basque Country, as people become more aware of the impacts of soil degradation in multiple aspects of our present and future lives. The Basque Country is a small region located in the northern of Spain and the coast. It only represents 1.4% of Spanish surface, but it is highly populated, particularly in urban areas, and holds the highest regional GDP in the country. Due to Spanish administrative organization, regulatory and policy aspects can be unclear sometimes. As you might see in the map, the region is very diverse in terms of climate and physical characteristics. It has two very distinct geographical zones that correspond to an Atlantic and a Mediterranean watershed, with highly defined land uses as well. It is also quite a mountainous region, where the bulk of the population is located in the valleys. The reason why soil contamination is such an issue in the Basque Country is because of its legacy of heavy industrialization, particularly during the past 2 centuries. Metallurgical activity, especially iron mining and processing, has been a key factor to the economic progress in the Basque Country nowadays. Even today, the Basque Country is quite industrialized and is home of many of the most contaminating industries. Due to this industrialization, which has happened without control until very recently, today we're beginning to see the effects of the little care that we have taken of our soils. Up to 16.5% of our useful soil in the region has been exposed to contamination. This represents almost 8,000 hectares. And tackling this problem is challenging for many reasons, starting by the difficulty in determining the exact cause of pollution in a given site. Most lands lack a documented history of amount and nature of the pollutants that were manipulated at a given point in time. There is also great variability in the results of tests in different sites and even in the same site with only a few months difference. But at least we know that in active industrial sites, such as mines, active industries and dumping sites represent the majority of the lands that have been classified as potentially polluted. We also know that metals represent around 60% of the sources of pollution. As you can see in the picture in the slide, the effects of soil pollution can be manifold and include human health, environmental, and economical impacts. Pollutants can travel from the soil, dissolved in water, or as a gas or a particle through the air. As a result, plants can absorb pollutants, animals can drink polluted water or eat polluted plants, and humans can inhale the particles, have direct thermic contact, or eat contaminated livestock and vegetables. In the Basque Country, 54% of the sites identified have potential impact in human health, and in 46% of them, the ecosystems are at risk. All this adds up to the economic costs of prevention, control, surveying, and rehabilitation of soils. In the Basque Country, this cost has been estimated in 1.8 billion euros. In such a serious problem as soil pollution, all public agents, private agents, and civil society have a role to play. In particular, the government is leading with policy and regulation to prevent further soil pollution and establish remediation guidelines. Private companies, particularly construction companies, and the general public should be more educated and aware of the impact of pollution in so many aspects of our daily lives. Socioeconomic development represents a challenge, a need, and an opportunity to address soil contamination. Urban development is of particular importance as a driver of soil conservation. This is because pressing expansion of urbanization requires constantly new sites free from pollution, yet located in or close to urban areas. Hence, this requires strategies to take advantage of this process to recover polluted areas and to increase control and prevent additional pollution because of construction. There are very significant actions that the government in the Basque Country is taking since 2005. This year, the first law to prevent and remediate soil contamination was approved. As a consequence, an inventory of all potentially polluted soils was carried out in 2008. This inventory, however, only focuses in urban and peri-urban areas, leaving rural areas out of the priority scope. The inventory also leaves out potentially polluted soils that now have been urbanized or that have suffered a change of use prior to the 2005 law. The law mandates that soil quality assessments are carried out, but mostly on a demand basis when a private agent is interested in a particular land and requires a license. This is probably due to the high costs and limited availability of public funds to remediate pollution. Measures taken to address soil pollution continue as they are now, we will be seeing a slower than desired pace of soils recovered. In the last 12 years, 2,000 out of the 8,000 identified sites, which is less than one-fourth, were rehabilitated. This means that presumably in 20 years there will be still many soils pending remediation, and this will imply continuing exposure to health, economic, and environmental risks in many locations during this time. The challenge to better assess the level of pollution in the potentially polluted lands does not seem to be addressed by any measure at this point. This might be due to high assessment costs, high variability of conditions per site, or external factors that can lead to non-point source of pollution, such as floods, water runoff, etc. Lack of awareness and lack of information availability has also been made obvious during my research for this project. On the other hand, there are some measures that could improve the current pace of soil recovery. For example, through awareness campaigns, the population could be asked to contribute with their memories about particular inactive sites, including ex-workers or families that remember the activities and impact of old mines, industrial processing facilities, and so on. This would also be a way to involve the civil society in this serious topic. Another measure could be to carry out an analysis in collaboration with other European governments of successful financing instruments that might have been implemented successfully in other countries. Lastly, the lack of information should also be addressed. One useful idea could be to build a database of best practices and remediation pilot projects that could be used as reference and learning platform to address pollution in other sites with similar characteristics. These measures could increase scientific knowledge and therefore reduce research and remediation costs and inform policy as well. It could also accelerate recovery of polluted soils through cost-efficient means. To conclude, there are a few learnings that I have extracted after this research project. The first one is that the Basque Country has regulated soil pollution only 12 years ago, which is not much, and there is still a long way to go. On the other hand, rapid urbanization represents both an opportunity and a challenge to ensure adequate soil management, and we should take advantage of that. Also, there is a serious lack of information and awareness on soils in the Basque Country, despite its relevance. And public, private, and academic stakeholders must coordinate to ensure a more efficient use of resources and better use of land. Before I carried out this research, I saw the Basque Country as a beautiful green and mountainous place. Now I know there is much to protect, and there are many unknowns in the pollution pathways that build a dangerous link between rural and urban areas, mountains and valleys, body waters, and lands. So thank you all for the patience and for listening and seeing my presentation. This project has been an adventure for me since I don't have any previous background on soils, and I never had recorded a presentation before. So thank you for the opportunity in this learning process in both soils and presentation skills. Goodbye.